What is going on, everybody? I wanted to do a quick review of the board game Gloomhaven. There's no spoilers in this video. This is a little off topic from my normal videos because I mostly focus on Games Workshop games such as Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, potentially Necromunda, and Blood Bowl, and Rogue Trader, and Silver Tower, and all the good ones, Warhammer Quest, whatever, in the future. But the last few months, me and all my friends on Saturdays, a lot of times we'll play maybe one game of 40k, and then we all gather around a table, about 4 or 5 of us sometimes, mostly 4, and we play Gloomhaven. This was a very successful Kickstarter board game. It uses cards. Your character, as he or she advances, you can adjust your deck that you flip when you're trying to attack, and therefore improve your character by having better cards in your deck. You also have access to better cards in your hand. Your hand size is different based on your character, and it never improves as far as I know. This means you have to choose when you level up a new card if you want, but it has to replace a previous card. Although, more or less, as you level up, the higher level cards have been pretty much better, or better versions of maybe a card you already enjoy playing. The game is super fun. It's really fun. It could be a little frustrating, but not as difficult as Imperial Assault, because this game, although it is difficult, seems much more achievable and winnable, I guess, if that's a word, without having to worry so much about restriction of number of turns to win in. You are, of course, going to lose cards as you play, so there is always going to be a restriction every game, because eventually you will run out of cards and your character will become exhausted. I highly recommend this game as a good dungeon crawl, hack and slash with a kind of a real diet light role-playing element to it. When we are playing, we generally kind of play our character a little bit based on your side quest. Each character has a quest that they're in secret trying to achieve, and that will retire their character. So you can do a little bit of role-playing there. If your character, for example, needs to kill a bunch of undead guys or something like that, you'll be trying to steal the killing blow of a lot of undead monsters, even if it may not have been the most ideal thing in that scenario. Although I highly recommend you never choose to go for your side quest or little checkmark quests that you'll get each game at sacrificing winning the mission, because it can get a little dull having to replay a mission 2 or 3 times because people are unintentionally / intentionally throwing the mission because they're being a little too greedy to win instead of getting their check marks for perks. When you're advancing your character in Gloomhaven, definitely pay attention to you'll have a white piece of paper, and on the side, when you get perks and check marks as you level, you will make adjustments to your deck. These are your character's most precious things, because if you're flipping better cards when you attack, your attacks are just always going to perform better. So you want to make your deck better. One player in our group loves the ignore scenario effects checkmark, and I think that is the absolute worst one, because not even every scenario has scenario effects, but every scenario you will be flipping cards from your attack deck. Some of them are very, special, like stuns or disarms or, things like that. So pay attention to those, and definitely try to take the most unique ones, because those usually are how the character probably was designed in mind. And as you're playing Gloomhaven, the strategy of your cards, you're going to try and balance how your character plays towards the mission. If you got a lot of rooms to go through, you're not going to know how many monsters are in each one. But if you got a lot of rooms to go through, or a lot of movement you're going to need to make, don't use a lot of your one-use cards. the exception to that being, I think it's always worth using a one-use card if the monster is an elite monster, because getting rid of an elite monster a turn or two early helps the whole team, even though you have used a one-use card to do so. You're gonna probably end up net losing more cards if it takes you just more rounds to get through that room, because when you rest, you're gonna also lose cards, and eventually your hand size will whittle down until your last couple cards. A big important thing about Gloomhaven, which is very, very cool, most of the missions, or at least a good percentage, you do not lose if you die. If the whole party dies, then you lose. But as a character, your character does not have to survive every time. So don't be afraid to use some really nice big one-play cards that you're going to lose for the rest of the game, because as long as it helps the other players get to the objective, it's going to be worth it. Although they might think that you're just dying and you're weak, in reality you've helped boost the whole team. Be aware of playstyles of different characters. Some have high hit points, some have low hit points. This is also super fun about the game, but you need to pay attention that if you're going to open a door or where you're ending your movement, if you're a low hit point character, don't just throw yourself into harm's way. One of the predictable things about the game, or semi-predictable, is that the monsters always attack the closest enemy. So make sure you're aware of positioning and pay attention to it, and then also pay attention to your cards. Use your one-off cards on some elites. Yeah, maybe you didn't make it to the last room, but your team has won. The board game it's like 20-something pounds, and has 100 dungeons. There's a lot of characters to unlock. We have not unlocked them all, so I don't even want to get into that, but you'll have a bunch to pick from in the beginning, and as you play on, you will unlock new ones, and they're all super fun from what I've seen so far. There's about 100 missions, although a lot of the storylines will go in, you do this, help this guy, or don't help that guy kind of thing. So don't expect to play all 100 for your campaign, but you can definitely replay it when you're finished. And I knocked over a bunch of stuff on my table. Lastly, when you're picking your character, maybe be mindful of your team composition. I don't think this is a huge thing, but if you have 3 squishy little characters who are ranged attackers, maybe consider taking the more brute tank kind of character, just because somebody has to get hit by the monsters, and it's always going to be better if a guy with a lot of hit points gets hit, so he doesn't have to discard his cards. That's pretty much my review of Gloomhaven. I think it is a 5 out of 5 dungeon crawl. It's very, very fun. Pick it up if you can. I don't know if the next wave has been released. I think there's expansions coming out. You'll need probably at least 2 players to play, although maybe you could play by yourself, I don't know. And that is all I have for you in today's review of other games that I play. Please subscribe. We do giveaways on the channel. We do Warhammer content. I'll be going through some other board games I play, like Massive Darkness, Warhammer Quest, and so on. Thank you very much. Have a good night.